What's up, everybody? We're back with another episode of Bullish Chips, where we use a proven and repeatable strategy to make money every day. This channel happens to focus on the Bullish Semiconductor ETF, which goes by the ticker symbol SOXL, but the charting and trading method can be implemented with any company that's traded in the U.S. stock market. So make sure you hit the like button if you enjoy this video. It really helps the channel grow. Appreciate those who continue to tune in, give us the thumbs up. If you haven't already, make sure you hit the subscribe and notification buttons. That way you're alerted to when we release new videos. The nightly and weekend videos focus on identifying triggers and targets for trades ranging from scalps and intraday trades all the way up to long-term leaps. So if you do want a deeper dive into exactly how we set up our charts with the color coding for different time frames, broadening formations, things of that nature, make sure you check out the bonus content on our YouTube page. And for more information about the strat, which is just the base of our trading and charting method, you can find some more free information in the description of this video. So I encourage you to watch the full video. We give a lot of good insight on price action on all time frames, not just triggers and targets for the next day, but we do look at all time frames. So with that, let's get into the agenda for today. First, we're going to recap the price action from Wednesday, November 19th. We'll zoom out like we always do, take a look at the week, month, quarter, and year to make sure we're level set, not too zoomed in on the day and intraday price action. But then we will zoom back in to set our 4-hour markers and the triggers and targets for Thursday, November 20th. And we will do a quick review of the triggers and targets for the week, month, quarter, and year as well. All right, so let's get into the intraday price action. And the first thing I brought up, we usually go to a scalp chart first. This is what we look at the beginning of a day to possibly get ahead of any trends that might be forming throughout the morning. And this time we went down to a 1-minute chart. We don't often do it too much, go down to a 1 minute too much, but the price action yesterday morning combined with overnight price action, kind of let us know we might need to be on the lookout early in the morning to get into either calls or puts, whichever way price decided to go. So I do have the 1 minute chart up here, and you can see at the bottom left hand part of the chart, this is the end of trading on on Tuesday, November 18th. So with this candle, we have the start of the trading for Wednesday, November 19th. And you can see we got the higher high, and then we got a higher low, right? So this low is higher than this low, this high is higher than that high. So that continues the uptrend. So you could have gone ahead and got your call at this point. Now, the general rule that we do follow, if you're not familiar with this channel, is after the opening print is printed, opening print is just the first traded price of the day, we want to look for higher lows at or above that opening print to get into calls, or we want to look for lower highs at or below that opening print to get into puts. This was a higher low, higher high, triggered just at the opening print. So that was your trigger to get in on the scalp chart, right? Even if you didn't want to get the trigger right at the opening print, you were lucky enough that the overnight high and last week's low were right here, not too far above it. So we pushed up, poked through it, and then pushed back down for another higher low. That's obviously above the opening print at that level, so that could have been your entry here as well. And you can see we got a series of higher highs, higher lows, going all the way up to this gray dashed line, which is our 4-hour downtrend line that we've had on the chart for a while. And at this point, that's when we make the lower low. We went ahead and exited our position here, anticipating a possible lower high on the 4-hour. We didn't even leave any runners this time, just in case. At the time, didn't feel the greatest about that we probably should have left a little bit in there for any more upside that might have occurred. And we did go make a higher high, higher low, higher high, but again, it did end up failing this 4-hour downtrend line and continuing to push back down through the day. Right now, we did get another higher low at the opening print about halfway through the day, which triggered some sideways action, and then obviously the push up into the end of the day. Let's go to the 5-minute, makes it a little bit easier to see here. And and we can see, right? Oops, did I zoom out? Yeah, I'm sorry, I zoomed out a little too much. There we go. This is Wednesday's action, right? So we could see here, even if you weren't watching the 1 minute, you got the higher low here right above opening print. You got the higher high and basically an equal low. It did go slightly lower, but a good position to have your stop would have been at opening print at that level, because it does give you a little bit of breathing room from this previous higher low. So if you did have that stop down here around opening print, you should have been able to stay in. Obviously it made a higher high at that point, higher low, and then it consolidated, right? Lower high but still a higher low, right? So not making a downtrend, just consolidation. Then finally it popped towards the end of the day, and you can see it basically closed around the previous high day, or where the previous high day intersects with that 4-hour downtrend level that we had. The 61.8 fib of the bull flag from the April 7 low is right here as well. So, that contributed to it as well. Again, we don't like to put too much weight into downtrend lines and uptrend lines, but we do put them on the chart to see where they coincide or cross over horizontal lines that we put more weight into, right? So there you have it. From the scalping perspective, you got the higher low at opening print. It obviously went to overnight high and previous high a day. Those were the targets. So from that perspective, the objective was completed, and profit to the upside. Right now, you could have took a little bit more risk here, noting levels, right? So just getting out of the higher low at or above opening print, lower high at or below opening print. If we get outside of that, the day has been moving on, right? We're an hour or so into the market. You could have just looked at the level that we were at, right? Knowing that previous high a day could act as resistance, right? Obviously, price couldn't get above that in the previous day. So there's something about that level that's acting as some resistance. We can move the chart to the left and see, right? It was a high here. We'd have to bring up more time. Let's bring the 1-hour chart up, make things a little bit bigger here. Right, so previous high a day also coincides with that bigger bearish engulfing candle. The bottom of that, the bearish engulfing candle from last Friday, kind of coincides with that level as well. So you could see that as being a level of resistance, and then just attacking it from that perspective. We got the lower high here and then lower low, so you could have entered puts at this point. We don't have the overnight high previous high day below us, so that's not going to be our first target. Our first target is going to be the overnight high and then the opening print. So you could have had that little ride down there as well. We did get a bounce off of off of the quarter flip, which basically coincides with last month's low. So we did remain green on the quarter, but it was an up day, overall, but somewhat neutral from the sense that, we had the push up, we had just as much of a pullback, right? We pulled back below opening print at one point during the day, and then we pushed back up, but not back to the high of day. So overall, a gainer as far as pushing to the upside, but nothing huge, right? Let's go ahead and look at the 1-hour chart, because we were able to break that downtrend finally. Oops. Come on now. There we go. So we can see that we had lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, soft lower high, lower low. Then we started to get up into here where we got this lower high. Lower high, soft higher low, confirmed by a more solid higher low, and then a higher high, right? So that higher low, higher high gives us the start of an uptrend. You can see we pulled back, made essentially an equal high. So, we could consider this a broadening formation, although this broadening formation would be rather flat, right? So we could have broadening formation that has formed, from here and here. So obviously more flat on the bottom and starting to angle up, as opposed to what we had before where it was more angled down. But the main thing to note is that we're in the middle of the transition, right? We had our first higher low and higher high, but we've got to continue that with we'll call it an equal high, right? From the second half of the day, the 12 o'clock candle. and we'll have to see, do we make a higher high? You know, maybe spoiler alert, right? We're in after hours. Obviously, NVDA has reported. Obviously, I think they beat on 4 different major numbers, and SOXL is up about 8% in after hours. So up above this. Let's see. This high was 37.30. Overnight is at 38.88. Now, again, that's not. That's overnight, but I would expect that once price opens tomorrow, we'll get that pop and continue higher high on the 1 hour chart. The thing that we need to keep in focus though is this 4 hour, right? Because we've got to get all the way up to 40.08 to beat the soft lower high, right? And make a higher high. But really we need to get up to this 40.60. That's what I was thinking of, not 40.06, but 40.60. So we've got to get up to this 40.60 area. Last week's 50% level is essentially at that point. We've got to get up there, and then if we do get a pullback, we've got to make a higher low at that point in order for this 4 hour to trend to change. Otherwise, we are still in a 4 hour downtrend. And if we go ahead and zoom out to the day chart, let's bring out a better chart here, right? We're still technically in a downtrend on the day as well, right? Lower high, lower low, lower high, higher low, but then followed by a lower high, lower low. And it's yet to be seen whether this will be a lower high as well, right? Even if we get the push up tomorrow, that just pushes us up into this daily downtrend line, this orange dash line that we've got here, which crosses over the 78.6 fib of the April 7 bull flag. So this could be a level of resistance as well. It's 39ish area, and you can see in after hours that's kind of where we stopped. The price stopped pushing up and had a pullback so far, at least. So definitely look for this area to be another pullback level. From the day perspective, we've got to get all the way up to 44.63 before we make a higher high, and that would be beating the market maker's expected move for the week after touching the bottom of the market maker's expected move. So have to have a pretty big Thursday, Friday. Not saying that it can't happen. This triple leverage product. Chips are definitely one of the bigger components of like QQQ and things of that nature. So a lot of people invest in chips, and you can really start to see them run. Not just SOXL, but SMH will have real big days as well. So could we have a couple of days where we get to that level, possibly make a higher high? At that point, all we're making is a broadening formation on the day chart then, right? It's still not confirming an uptrend. We would need to get a higher low and then another higher high to start an uptrend. But at least it would be a broadening formation. Bulls would be a little bit more in control, but it would still be more neutral overall. So from the day chart, right, we got a green day. However, it was inverted hammer. So we do need to watch that we're not just getting ready to set a lower high on the day chart, right? Let's zoom out a little bit more. Let's look at the week. Let's pull up a clean chart here. And again, we can see, make things a little bigger for those on phone, right? Here's the bull flag that I'm talking about from the April 7 low. Here's the flagpole. Here's the 11-week sideways range for the flag. And then we have the pop, right? We got to the 100% fib extension for that move, and actually all the way up to basically the 138.2 fib extension, right? So now we've had our pullback to that 50% level, and in uptrends, you like to see the support hold at, somewhere in between the 61.8 and 38.2 fib level. So again, we could still have a little bit more pullback to go through. We got this gap down here around 31 that we could still fill before bouncing off this 38.2 fib extension from that bull flag, right? We could see that happen. So don't take more downside off the table totally just because NVIDIA had good earnings, right? We've got to keep ourselves in check and level set. We could continue a little bit further push down, and even if we did, getting into this 29 area wouldn't be the end of the world either, even if we filled this gap before we bounced, right? Because at that point we're reaching a major support area. That was major resistance for 11 straight weeks, right? So in an uptrend, what do? You turn resistance into support. So even if we pull back all the way to this level, it's still not the end of the world, but we would want to see a bounce at that point, right? And then once we bounce, we don't want to see a lower high. If we do see a lower high, we want to see that followed by a higher low to continue at least the neutral trend and trying to flip it to an uptrend, right? So again, from the week perspective, nothing horrible going on. Could we pull off a bullish engulfer this week? Possibly, right? NVDA can really affect the market in a positive and negative manner, but because they beat earnings, their guidance was pretty good as well. It wasn't I don't know, it wasn't as great as some others I've heard from them in the past, but it was still a good forecast, right? It's not like they were forecasting negative things for the future. It may have not just been as rosy as some things have been in the past, or embellished, I would say. But anyways, I digress. That's the week perspective. Again, we're all right. We're doing okay. From the month perspective, we're still doing okay as well, right? We have the two down here locking in, the two down this month, locking in last month as a higher high in the trend count. So again, we can come all the way down to this 2350 level before we make a lower high. So we do want to see this candle hammer up before the end of the year. That's what bulls would like to see. But even if we finish like this, it's not the end of the world, because who knows what happens in December. We could open here and just get a straight push up through December and end up going 2 up on the month and locking this in as a higher low. All right. So again, from the week and month perspective, nothing horrible out there, right? Everything still looks good. Let's go to the quarter, because everybody knows, well, if you follow this channel, you know that the quarter has been my favorite chart of SOXL over the past few months, ever since the one combo 2 down, combo 2 up triggered. That's one of my favorite reversal patterns. But we did pull back below this 36.15, which is the trigger for that one combo 2 down, combo 2 up. The quarter's still green. So we do want to see a push back up above that 36.15 level to re-trigger that pattern. But at the same time, this is going to be a key chart as well, because if we finish the quarter like this, or maybe push up just a little bit more, but if it's an inverted hammer or a doji, we've really got to watch out for first quarter of 2026. Because if we go 2 down in the first quarter of 2026, that locks this fourth quarter of 2025 in as a lower high on the quarter chart, and that's coming after a lower low. So that would be starting a downtrend on the quarter perspective. So still a little ways to go, month and a half to go before we, the month is over and we see how we're set up to go into the first quarter of 2026. But it's something you got to keep in mind, right? And then from the year perspective, not a whole lot to say here. We did trigger the, let me make this a little skinnier. We did trigger the 1, 2 up, 2 down on the year early on in the year, right? Obviously pushing us to those April 7 lows. But we did not quite reach magnitude, right? The magnitude for that move was 621. We made it to 723 in April. So from that standpoint, we're creating a higher low. And that's coming after a higher high in the trend count. So that would be just continuing the uptrend on the year chart, right? Now, I would like to see some of this wick get taken away, the body build back up in this candle. That way we are closing at or close to the top of the candle for the year, giving us a better chance of going 2 up next year, triggering that 2 down, 2 up, and having a magnitude of 70.08. But again, this is still, compared to what we were looking at in April, this is great, right? We've had a great comeback. Okay, so let's, now that we've zoomed out, let's zoom back in. Let's go to our scalp chart for tomorrow and just take a quick look at what we've got here, right? So, and just looking at the 4-hour markers themselves, let's bring this in. All right, the 4-hour markers, we've got our previous high a day up at 37.30. We have the previous low a day at 34.20. Down here towards the top of the bottom of the chart. Where's our, okay, yep, overnight, there we go. Let me make this a little bit smaller. Hopefully those of you on phone can still see relatively well. Try and keep y'all in mind. But we have, obviously because of NVIDIA's earnings, overnight low is here towards the middle of the screen. Overnight high is all the way up here towards the top of the screen, right? So Knowing where those are is key at the beginning of the trading day on Thursday, right? Let's get the right tool out here, and let's say, let's say we pull back a little bit from the overnight high, and on Thursday we open basically, with maybe a slight gap up, right? Just very slight. Well, at that point, we want to look at where we are on the chart, right? So a couple of honorable mention levels here that we have. This light red dash, small dash line here is the week flip, right? So if we get above this level, the week turns green, right? The other levels I want to talk about here, this solid yellow line, this is last quarter's high, right? This is basically coinciding with the 61.8 fib extension of the April 7 low. We've got the quarter flip, which is basically previous low a day. So price goes below that level and the quarter flips red. And right below that is last month's low, right? So you can see support down here, resistance up here. Wouldn't be too much to expect tomorrow to be a sideways day, frankly. Maybe we get that pop in the morning off of NVDA earnings for all those who don't trade overnight. And, maybe we get a pullback, people selling and taking profit if they had overnight swings, things of that nature. Even if we don't get a pullback, maybe we just move sideways at that point, right? We are in the middle of support and resistance, right? We've got this daily downtrend line right here as well, right? So keep in mind where we open, where the high was overnight, and the different sets of people out there that will be competing in the morning. The overnight traders that may have gotten a little late before the market right before market opens. If price opens and just kind of stalls out, doesn't shoot up immediately, maybe they start selling their position, which would obviously create downside pressure on price. Those are swings. If a whole bunch of people who had swings and were way out of the money and are getting crushed by IV, no profit, right? They're going to go ahead and try and get out of those contracts. Again, downside pressure for price action. But then there's also those who are like, oh God, I missed overnight. I need to get in first thing during the day. And when price opens, maybe a whole bunch of people pile in, obviously pressuring price to the upside, right? So there's going to be depending on where we open, I guess we're gonna have to wait till the open. But depending on where we open, there could be somewhat of a fight for the price action between, again, people swinging, people with good positions, bad positions, right? NVIDIA earnings is obviously a big deal in the market, so don't be surprised if we get some sideways action tomorrow. Would it continue on over the following days? Probably not. That's when volatility starts to die down a little bit, and then people can really start to add or subtract from their position at that point. But again, if we open here and we get a push up immediately, maybe we get a rejection off of the week flip, or maybe we even press up to overnight high and we reject there. Once we pull back, if we get that higher low at or above this opening print level, go ahead and take your hand at some calls, right? Obviously set your stops below the the higher low at that point. But your first target is going to be overnight high. Now at that point you would already be above previous high a day, so that's not going to be a target for you. At that point you need to roll into the 4-hour and 1-day triggers and targets that we'll get into here in a minute. But that's how you can attack it from the upside. Same thing from the downside. If we open up here and we push down, maybe we bounce off an overnight low and push back up, but we get a lower high at or below opening print, go ahead and look to get into puts. First target would be overnight low. Second target would be previous low day. And if price goes below previous low day, then again, you roll into your 4-hour and 1-day triggers and targets that we'll get into here in a second. Main thing to remember though, from the scalping perspective, especially real early in the morning, is just higher lows at or above opening print, get into calls. Lower highs at or below opening print, get into puts, right? Let's go ahead and zoom out to like the 4-hour chart, because as I said, we did start to reverse trend on the 1-hour chart, but we've still got a downtrend in the 4-hour, right? So we are slated to, if nothing were to change and we open where price is currently, let's see, price is 38.85. So that's, right right around here, right? That's running into this fib extension from the bear flag. I'm sorry, from the bull flag in July, right? It's also right around this daily downtrend line. It's just slightly below last week's 50%. So again, we would be opening into resistance. So wouldn't be surprised to see some sideways action or even just a pullback early on before reattempting to break through that resistance level, right? Just looking at it from a pure candle structure, right? We had a bullish engulfing candle in the first 4 hour of Wednesday, and then an inside candle, right? So big indecision and small indecision. I guess this inside candle is not that small of indecision. We've seen smaller inside candles before, but obviously big indecision indicated here by this bullish engulfing candle, right? The bears wanted it, the bulls wanted it, it came back to the middle, right? Then we have an inside candle. Bears wanted it, the bulls wanted it, came back to the middle. But we are towards the upper third of the first 4 hour candle with the close of that second 4 hour candle. So if we do get action to the upside in that first 4 hour of Thursday, November 20th, that would give us a 3-1-2 up continuation, right? That would trigger here at the high of the 1, which is 36.56, and the target or the magnitude for that move would be 37.30, right? Previous high a day. Now, if we get price action to the downside tomorrow, right? If everybody decides, hey, they want to take profit on NVDA at this point, or some other, Jensen may say something else that makes headlines, or some other catalyst pushing us to the downside. If that were to happen tomorrow, right, that would trigger the 3-1-2 down, right, triggering at the low of this one, which is 34.80, and targeting or the magnitude of that move being the previous low a day, which is 34.20. So not a lot of magnitude here to the downside, really not a lot of here to the upside either. So you definitely want to look at what price action is doing once it gets to those edges, or the previous high a day, previous low a day. And if you got more momentum, then obviously take a look at the triggers and targets for the 1 day chart that we'll go through here in a minute. But especially if we get price action to the downside and we get to that previous low a day, that might be it. You may not want to look for too much more follow through to the downside, because again, the support levels and NVIDIA's earnings, I don't see how that's going to really negatively affect the market or chips especially, right? Let's look at the day chart. Make this a little bigger here, right? So just looking at it, pure candle structure or strat patterns, right? We did kick off a 1-2 down, 2 up reversal today. Now it obviously did not reach the magnitude, which is the high of the candle to the left of the 1, but it did trigger, and it still closed green. It's not like it went up and failed and now we've got a red candle, right? So still closed green and almost just above Tuesday's high, right? So still more leaning bullish than bearish from that perspective. So if we continue to go higher tomorrow and we trigger this 1-2 down, 2 up, which would be a combo 2 up in that case, again, the magnitude for that move is the high of the candle to the left of the 1. So that's up here at 40.60, just above last week's 50% level. At the same time, if things go to the downside and we go below the previous low day or Wednesday's low, then we're triggering a 2 up, 2 down, right? Obviously triggering at the low of Wednesday and targeting or the magnitude of that move being the low of Tuesday, right? So again, not a lot of magnitude to the downside and into support, so wouldn't expect to go too much further. But if there is momentum and we do start to push down further, you got to keep in mind we got a very small gap right here at 31 and then a slightly bigger gap down here at 28 right below the week flip. So can't totally take the downside off the table because we're still in this downtrend from the 1 day perspective. So we've got to respect that, right? And we've still got a bit of a ways to go till we make a higher high on that perspective and start to change the trend, right? So let's just go here and look at the hard numbers in our notes, right? So Thursday, November 20th, there will be 27 trading days left in 2025, and the close on Wednesday, November 19th, was 35.96. We know that we've got to get to 37.90 to flip the week green. We've got to get all the way up to 49.49 to flip the month green. So not really looking for that to happen this week, but we could get this week flip back green. As we know, the quarter and the year are green, so we'd have to get all the way down to these levels here to flip those red. Not looking to do that anytime soon. We know what the market maker's expected move is for the week, plus or minus $5.46. We're right in that range of 44.32 to 33.40, but we are at that lower part of the range, right? So if we're looking at just expected move, risk to reward would be more to the upside. We know what the gaps above and gaps below are, and we know that when looking from a scalping perspective at the very beginning of the day, we're looking for higher lows at or above opening print to get into calls, and we're looking for lower highs at or below opening print to get into puts. Right, real simple. Don't need to have that on the chart here. But from the 4-hour time frame perspective, if we go to the downside, we get a 3-1-2 down reversal triggering at 34.80 with a magnitude of 34.20. Again, because that's not a lot of magnitude, we did put in the extended target of 33.18 out there. Now, if we continue to the upside, that's a 3-1-2 up continuation, triggering at 36.56 with a magnitude of 37.30. And then we put an extended target of 37.90 out there. It's not too extended because, again, we have to remember we are still in the face of a 4-hour and 1-day downtrend. So we don't want to get too far ahead of our skis to the upside. At the same time, look at after hours, right? We're already above this level. So at that point, if we open where we are now in after hours, or we don't open at 37.30, then basically take this off the table and we start looking at the day chart, right? Now on the day, if we do go down to the downside, right, if we trigger this downside on the 4-hour and it goes past the magnitude and triggers it on the day chart, right, that triggers at 34.20, there is a magnitude of 33.15, so decent magnitude to the downside, and we've got our extended targets out there. But if we do continue to the upside, that gives us that 1-2 down combo 2 up that we talked about, triggering at 37.30. The magnitude is 40.60. But again, we put some intermediate targets here just because we are in the face of a 4-hour and 1-day downtrend. Yes, we're past that first target, but we're not past that second one yet in after hours, even with NVDA reporting. So those are our intermediate targets. The magnitude of the move is 40.60. If we reach there and we've got momentum because of this NVIDIA earnings, we put some extended targets out here of 41.10 and 41.74. Now, from the week perspective, we did trigger the one combo 2 up, combo 2 down when we poked below 35.15 on Tuesday, but you can see the close price is 35.96, meaning we are above that trigger. So you can see this is no longer in bold. It's only underlined. It's underlined to show us we triggered it. We only keep things in bold if they are still in force or, past the trigger. So, we've triggered it obviously, but we pulled back and, maybe this is the higher low on the week chart. Got to get up to 45.52 to make a bullish engulfing candle on the week. Not calling for that today, but SOXL running $10 in 2 days is not unheard of. So got to still keep that on the board and keep an eye out for that. Just like with the week, the month triggered to the downside, but we're back above that trigger. So, right, we've underlined it to show we did trigger that. But we not only are no longer in force with that, right? We're above that trigger. We were nowhere close to reaching the magnitude or even the target. So yes, we've triggered it. Yes, we've got to keep an eye on it and know where our the targets and magnitudes are. But as of right now, we're still holding strong, right? The green 3 or the bullish engulfing candle on the month, we would need to get up to 50.76. So again, right now, not really looking at that happening, but we do have a little less than half a month left. So it could still happen, right? Going to the quarter, again, we triggered that 2 down combo 2 up when we went above 35.49. That reached magnitude at 36.15, which then kicked off the 1 combo 2 down combo 2 up, which has a magnitude of 70.08. And the reason why we put all these intermediate targets in there, right? When we were at 36.15, we weren't even thinking we were going to get close to 70.08. Right now, over the past couple of weeks, when we were, hitting our highs, it was bringing 70.08 more into the picture. So we made sure that we had the intermediate targets on there as well as the magnitude. But right, we got to still level set, keep ourselves in check, and know that it's still a pretty lofty magnitude to get to before the end of the year. So this could carry over into first quarter 2026, second quarter 2026 before we actually reach that magnitude. All right. And then again, we talked about when we looked at the year chart, we did trigger a 1, 2 up, 2 down on the year, but we were able to not reach that magnitude and make a higher low. Right now, we've got a green, kind of fat doji for the year on candle structure, but continuing to remain strong. Right. That's much better than where we were back in April. So is if we can stay green on the year, close the year green, if we can push up a little bit more to make it more of a hammer candle, take away some of that upper wick and give us a better chance of going 2 up at the beginning of 2026, that's all we're looking for. But again, neutral at worst from the year perspective. I'd say neutral at worst from the quarter as well, and month and week as well. Neutral at worst, but week maybe even starting to turn a little bit more to the bull side, right? We'll have to see what Thursday brings, right? We've got a good start so far with NVIDIA earnings, but we'll see what Thursday and Friday bring, how the week ends, and that will give us a little better feeling as to whether we're leaning more bullish or bearish as we move into next week, right? But there you have it. Those are your triggers and targets from everything from the scalp chart to the 1-year chart. Right, so I hope we've covered everything. We try to put in as much information into these videos as we can without taking up too much of your time. So again, thank you for staying with us through this whole video. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give us a thumbs up. Again, it really helps the channel grow, and we appreciate those that continue to tune in. Lets us know that what we're doing is worth something, right? You don't want to just be putting information out there that doesn't resonate with anybody, right? Obviously we see that this is resonating with folks, and we really hope that it's helping folks out, right? We have a free channel. We don't there's no subscription or anything like that. So the only thing we ask in return is a free thumbs up that you give us. But anyways, I digress. I will wrap this video up like we normally do, and saying that if you're watching this Wednesday night, we hope you get some good rest tonight and wake up refreshed tomorrow morning. If you're watching this Thursday morning, we hope you got some good rest last night and woke up refreshed today. And we look forward to getting out there and trading with you.